behave yourself.
He's our new hiree.
Ah. Oh, yes.
Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance.
The buildings and grounds.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Mulbar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Heard from Councilor Waltman. He's on his way and would be a little late.
I have two things before we get too started here. Everybody know the fire department's equipment bus, the motor went out here a while back, and Denny Blessington spent 7 days and his son-in-law Bill to fix it. Record time. So I want to publicly thank him for doing the extra work that we couldn't have got done anywhere else. And I also have today a letter to the city of Lakeview. We want to thank you for the generous monetary donation to the Christmas View Lighting Project for the Camp Crescent Campground. Your support of ideas to make our city stand out is so appreciated. We can't wait to showcase our town. Thank you, the Christmas View Committee. They went and bought a bunch of stuff today. Christmas is just around the corner. Yeah, before we do public forum, if you want to talk about other than resolution 2312, if you'll want to wait till we get to that resolution, everybody will get a chance to speak. But if that's okay with everybody, unless somebody has something else for public forum. Otherwise, we'll move to consent agenda. Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Stankin.
Yes.
Mulbar.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes. Administrator report.
Couple things that I had on your at your seat tonight when you came. The first thing would be just a letter. And this letter comes from the Lakeview Housing and Development Authority, and it's our housing committee that's been working on some housing issues. And this is a recommendation then to the city council about development of Outlot 20. And you know, really it's saying that looking forward to development of that property, and they would like to look at least a portion of that would be utilized as residential. May look at some different types of mixed-use stuff more along the highway, but especially the south part being residential. Excuse me. The other thing that was at your seat tonight was a letter from V&K. This is just a letter from V&K, but it's in regards to a proposed change order for the Highway 175 water main project. And just as you read that, what you'd see is that Jet Drain has requested a change order, and that as they're boring under the highway, to avoid a conflict with the city's underground electric, they needed to extend the casing by 7 feet, and then to lower it slightly more than 1 foot. So, because they had to extend it 7 feet and lower it 1 foot, Jet Drain had requested some additional compensation. They requested $7,790. And then the rest of the letter then explains from our engineer, you know, his concept on this is that 7 foot then is still covered. Change orders would be covered under unit price for the contract is $310 per foot. So the additional 7 foot would be $2,170. And then he's asked for additional supporting documents from the contractor about why that amount ought to be $7,000 instead of $2,000. So that's just where we're at on that right now.
Did they say why they had to go down an extra foot?
It was a conflict. You want to just talk about that, Jeff, about how they conflicted with the underground electric?
Well, I think they want to be at 6 foot. I think the electric's at a foot, or 5 foot. And what I don't understand is when you hire an engineer to go out there, shouldn't they know what elevations of utilities are before they go and bid?
Agreed.
And so I don't feel that we should have to do anything with it for the fact they didn't know what their elevations were.
We can certainly talk to Veenstra and Kamen to ask them about that, can we?
I mean, I had Trent there for basically 2.5 days, helping them get around our electric, and then I get this, so I'm not warm and fuzzy about it.
Little update on that electric grant opportunity that we talked about last time, about that big regional electric grant. So Jeff and I had sat in on a webinar about that last week, and our application is into the region. So, and I put that in your packet about what the proposed projects would have been. A couple $1 million worth of projects there for the electric utility that includes something on the sub end and some line work. They just noted that the maximum amount of this grant would be $500 million for the region, and they had received $575 million worth of requests. So they did need to pare that down somehow, and they will continue to work on that.
What is their criteria then?
It is related to, how do we say it? It's it's related to enhanced use of technology, and that would be one of the main things that we would incorporate into our substation is some SCADA stuff that allows communication, and with that sub two-way communication with it.
When you were talking to them, did you get any kind of feel about, are they out to help the smaller communities, or one big load to somebody that has a lot more than what we have, a whole lot more?
All of the entities will certainly be considered to be what small utilities. Now, a lot of them will be a lot bigger than we are. We'd be one of the very smallest ones. So did we get a feeling for it? Not necessarily. But what they did have a feeling for was just real optimism about their grant in general. That they've got some great vibes about the regional grant being funded, which would be funded up to $500 million.
Did you give any kind of time frame?
They do have to have a series of timelines that need to be met in the next days to keep on task about having the application ready to go. And that's really where they're at, is to assure that the application is done.
They don't want to give us the 500 billion, huh?
But hey, I think we just want a couple million.
Yeah.
And just an FYI for you that I do have a preliminary plat from Lakewood Partners about that subdivision, and we actually have a planning and zoning meeting next Thursday, or next Tuesday, and we'll be considering a preliminary plat then at that meeting. So see some action on that. Our downtown sign there was at Bob Morris, that was placed today, so it's up and looking good. It will light, but we don't have power to it yet. So
No, it'll be a little later on.
yeah.
I mean, we'll work at it, I just can't really give you a timeline.
And my last thing, Northwest Iowa League is Thursday. It's in Everett.
Need a head count.
Lots of people would be good, because so far there's not very many people going to Everett.
I suppose I'm available.
That's Thursday, what time?
Thursday at social times at 5:30.
Yeah, I can't make it. So, I gotta try to type my notes too.
That's the end of the administrative report.
That's it for me.
Okay, we have a site plan for Vasco's building project to approve. Should be cut and dried.
Yeah, we do. So you just let's take a look at page 4 in the packet, and really what this is telling you is they want to build another building that they basically describe as a cold storage building. Okay, it's a 50 by 300 building, which would be built close to their north fence line, and north of their new plant addition. Okay, so they have prepared the proper site plan for it and gave drainage analysis. That drainage analysis was included here on page 6 and 7 too. Everything had been presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission that recommends approval of the site plan, and it is good to go.
Motion,
I'd make a motion to approve it.
Second.
roll call.
Frank,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Okay, now you have a building permit from Evapco, we'll need to approve that.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
I had you down for the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second.
You get a second? Yeah. Okay, Beckman,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
And we don't have any concrete bids.
Now, I tell you, we sent out proposals seeking concrete bids for the mini golf, and this primarily had to do with the footings or an abutment to replace that bridge. And sent that out to several contractors. I did not receive any responses. We were gonna open them at the meeting tonight. Just an update on the project then, where we do have a couple other things that are pending with the project. Main thing would be carpet, and that's working through Wall Lake Lumber on that, and they had finally found an installer. Total price on the carpet to replace all the carpets, $40,000, and then we had quoted Wall Lake Lumber for proposal to replace all of the light fixtures on all of those bollards. So it's 31 light fixtures, and these are LED light fixtures. Total on that's $4,435, and we would look to proceed with those.
Any ideas of, do we try to rebid this concrete?
Okay, we gotta do something. You know, we need to do something to. We'll try to rebid it or work with the contractor on that. The other thing is that I turned around and got a spec ready to go on that other larger concrete replacement project. And that'll, wait and see what happened tonight, but that will go out conceivably tomorrow. And, you know, that includes all these other patches around town. So, but the completion date on that isn't until October. I will, continue to work with a contractor, see if there's anybody who would get lined up to do the work. Other alternatives, we can look at some temporary alternatives there, and it may very well be that we would build a wood bridge or something like that, temporary for the moment, see through the year. Because the bridge has been moved, it's not there anymore.
So how long will it take them to put carpet on for the whole works?
Boy, you can get the work knocked out within a couple weeks for sure. Assuming decent enough weather.
For 40,000, is that carpet gold?
It's all green, it's high quality green carpet.
Evidently.
It's intended to last quite some time.
That's good to know.
Okay, we're gonna move on to resolution 2312, and Scott is gonna explain what that resolution is, so everybody hears the same thing.
Yeah, just so, as we can consider this resolution tonight, the resolution itself is really nothing but a resolution that assures the city's rights to be able to issue debt for the water main project in the future. So, when the city issues debt, there's lots of IRS regulations that all need to be adhered by. And if we were to look at issuing debt for the water main project, common practice would be to issue it at the beginning of the project, or you'd be able to utilize the funds for construction. This assures that we can just be able to retain our rights to be able to issue debt for the water main project then into the future. So the concept is that we do have a balance in the TIF funds. Right now, it'd be somewhere around $448,000. And that the proposal then would be that the city would utilize the existing TIF funds, pay for the water main project right now, pass this resolution to assure that you have the rights to issue debt for the water main project in the future. Just the concept being then that you've delayed the issuance of any debt, chance to have more TIF funds come in, save the interest money in the meantime, but if there's more TIF money that comes in over the next year, that could decrease the amount of the debt. So on the economic side of things, it certainly could make some sense like that.
So, this is, I think, I talked to a few people and they were talking about that. If we were to put this ahead of the community center, does that confuse us that we have to do another vote on that to redo that? What we did the last time, you know, we did that back, what, a couple of years ago?
About
Using
the
TIF
council
money?
action to
Yeah.
support the project?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, using that TIF money, but if we do it this way, I know Dale had to, that we could say, you said 21,000, is that kind of what you?
Well, that's what the interest would be at the percentage that he had slated in front of us last meeting.
Yeah.
And that's based on a year.
So, I guess, do we know what our timelines are gonna be by chance, or how's that gonna?
You know, when you look at this, and obviously, it's tied to the community center then about when funds would be needed for the community center. So, the concept here is that you spend that TIF money for water main right now, knowing that you've retained the right to issue debt for the water main project.
Okay.
Okay, to reimburse the TIF fund, which would then be utilized for the community center. So the resolution tonight is strictly procedural on that. It just assures that we can do this in the future.
So we will not have to have another vote with the council to, if later on for the TIF funds for the community center, we won't have to do any of that again.
That's already been voted and passed prior.
Right.
This has nothing to do with that. This is just using our TIF funds that we have in our balance to utilize it for the water main project until the community center project moves forward. Then we can borrow against the water main project and to reimburse the TIF, just like we were gonna do now, because the water main project was gonna be borrowed and put into the TIF fund. So instead of borrowing for the water main project now and put it into our TIF fund, we're gonna use the money we
Save
have
interest. I understand
to
that.
save the interest.
And with that, though, you ask about votes. It takes council action, of course, to formally issue debt, and that would take a council passing resolution on that.
Anybody in the public would like to speak?
I would assume that you have more TIF money coming in from the new facilities that are being built too, is that correct?
In future.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true.
And they're, yeah, well, okay. Connie says how long?
It started to roll in from.
Should be, from the big
From
one
some
that's
of the
there.
improvements on the highway started to roll in from this year. Goes up next year we figured that it's $80,000. It continues to go up.
Right.
From then, as Evapco rolls on. Evapco has some tax abatement that will keep that TIF a little bit lower over time. It'll continue to rise over the years.
But if they keep putting buildings out there, it's gonna continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet.
We have other areas in town that are donating, or not donating, but contributing to our TIF fund as well.
How big is the TIF district?
Just, for total value of the city contained in the TIF district, it was about 7% of the value of the city is contained in our TIF district. Okay, the geographic area is largely on the highway, includes the downtown. Dale's area is included in there as a housing component. And that's the lion's share of what would be included in the urban renewal and TIF area.
I have a question, and correct me if I'm wrong in the assumption. Would this council, when the time comes, be willing to commit to debt to replace the TIF money for the community center, which they've already pledged to assist in the past? because it's gonna come to a vote.
Right.
And then it'd be a kind of a horrible way to go back on a pledge that was made in the past, but that comes to a vote. And we would assume, those of us in favor, that the council would do that at that time, if that was the deal we were making now. And I'd like other people to comment on that same question also from our group.
Larry, flip the switch on the microphone, will you?
Do I need a microphone?
Well, just for the camera maybe, not for
I
us.
think I got an answer.
There you go.
Mary Ludwig, Hometown Pride. I'm gonna start with the historical aspect that brings us here tonight, because there have been promises made by this very council that sits here with me, Dave Woltman included, even though he's not here. Those promises go back to January of 2020, when this council made a promise through a vote that we would be able to research and move forward with the community center project. There were aye votes: Moeller, Steinkamp, Toms, Woltman. October of 2020, the promise was made to earmark the TIF funds contingent upon the committee raising the funds through grants and private donations. Ayes for that as well: Steinkamp, Toms, Woltman. Moeller, you abstained. Nearly 3 years ago, committed the TIF funds, earmarked them for this project. I want to trust my city council that what you say, and when a project continues to move forward, that I can trust that. But when this type of discussion to move those funds for a different project, despite the earmark, is presented, which I believe is being presented under a false notion to complete something else of a different agenda, is disappointing and frustrating, because it is a privilege for this community to have as many volunteers as we do that complete excellent projects that bring visitors and tourism and grow the economic development in our community. That is a blessing and a privilege that should be appreciated. In December of 2021, the need for an engineer to prepare a site plan was approved. Again, aye votes: the expenses to be paid from TIF funds. Yeses from Steinkamp, Toms, Woltman. The purchase of the land, again, approved. December 20 of 2021, another resolution that we could acquire real estate for the site of a community center. All ayes. January 2022, again, an engineer for the community center site plan. Support again from the council. All ayes. Motion carried. January 2022, again, another vote for the community issue to be put up for, to be moving forward. Again, all ayes. February 2022, again, we are working on engineering proposals for the community center. Motion by Moeller, second by Woltman, to enter an agreement for Western Plains Engineering, Lakeview Lumber. Moeller, Beckman, Steinkamp, Woltman, ayes. Motion carried. We move again into October of 22. Bioretention plans, approved again, October of 2022. January 2023. This was the IRS designation for the letter to say the land had the value. Again, we were here again, once again, fighting a fight, presenting information for something that was just utterly ridiculous for us to be here for, because it's part of the IRS law. It's plain, you can Google it, it's black and white. They deserved that designation for the IRS. February 2023, Green Infrastructure Plan, roll call vote, Moeller, Steinkamp, Woltman, all ayes. So there is a proven history that our council has wanted to see this project move forward. All of these votes. Yet we're here tonight to say, we made that promise that you can have that TIF fund. So much of a promise that has been put in all of our publications. Every single grant we have applied for, every single donor that we have met with, Every donation that has come to our coffers to support this project has been under the notion that this city has made a promise of TIF funds of $400,000 for this project so it can be successful. This community center is a gift of $1+ million to the community of Lakeview. You tell me another community that has a group of volunteers working hard for 6+ years to give a gift to the city of over $1 million that will continue to bring visitors to the town and drive up our economic development. You're gonna be hard pressed to find that. That is a gift. I have some questions for the council tonight. You put $300,000 in the budget for the campground. The campground is essentially the premise of what a community center is. It is to bring people to our town. It is for visitors. $300,000 put in that budget to make improvements and keep that project and the campground moving forward and looking great and bringing in visitors. Community center is the same premise. It's no different. The goal is to bring visitors to our community so that they will spend their dollars at our local businesses. We have an amazing Main Street. Without moving forward with projects that enhance the opportunity for visitors to be here, we would not have that. Again, that's all of these visitors, thanks to the volunteers. I'm not sure how much money we get annually for TIF, but what does impact that are abatements. When you have an abatement, which Evapco does, as well as Jacobson Seed, we're not seeing those TIF dollars right away. So I think you need to be aware, what does that timeline look like? What does that money coming in look like? If you can't answer those questions, tonight's vote to this resolution should be a no.
Just that Jacobson took their incentive up front, Mary, so there's no tax abatement.
I also wonder about the council's plan to make decisions and then keep their promises. Are you gonna change all of them? Are you gonna have volunteers working on projects for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years and then go back and change? What's that message sending to our community? You also have spent money on engineering for plans for Camp Crescent, $38,000 when you add it all up. But I wonder, what are the plans for those? Is anything moving forward? Is there a strategy? Is there a layout? Is there a timeline? If not, we've spent $38,000 that have been wasted. But yet we're worried about $20,000 supposedly. I think there's some real opportunity to be a little bit more strategic and aware and conscientious of the decisions that you're making for financials instead of coming to something to do like this, which actually feels like trying to snake your way through and weasel your way through a different opportunity for this community center that shouldn't be going on. When you make decisions about using TIF dollars and then you try to take that back, what you're doing is you're ruining the credibility of this community, of this council, and of the volunteers. It goes right to our donors who have supported so many projects in this town to question your ability to keep a promise. It will do irreparable harm to the projects that we have worked on. It creates public mistrust when you break promises, especially for ones that community volunteers have worked so hard on to put together for the benefit of the community. This project is about positive business impact. It's not about me. It's not about my kids. It is about impacting our businesses in our community and keeping them afloat so that we can continue to thrive. It's about the future of Lakeview. If you want a glimpse of the future of Lakeview, you missed a great opportunity recently. We had the spring show. Both of my daughters are in it. And dozens of little kids came to the spring show and performed. Dozens. That's what this community center is about. It's about those little kids that want to be in our community, bring their friends, be proud of what we do. That's what this is about. And a community center will help this community thrive and move forward. Be careful of the message that you're sending. Hometown Pride is exactly that. It is a group of people that are about this place as their home. It's about a group of people who are proud to call this their town. It's about pride. My name's Mary Ludwig, and I have a lot of pride for the work that we're doing. And I hope you'll join me in that and vote this resolution down.
Anything else?
Yes, Scott, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I haven't seen the resolution, just a glimpse of it. So if you take this money and then we're ready to move forward with starting our project, and might I say I agree with everything Mary said, although more than $300,000 is being planned to be spent on that campground. $300 is just for drainage that was connected to those engineering fees. We're spending, I think, somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 besides that this year on the campground, which is all well and fine. I do think spending $400,000 or $500,000 on the campground is a bit much when it's right a lake and it's always going to flood to some degree. But anyway, back to what I was saying. What if there's not enough money in there then? Does it say in this resolution that you are agreeing to issue debt? Is there any guarantee in there that that's going to happen? That's a question I'm asking.
Excuse me, the resolution does not say that debt will be issued. It just reserves the rights of the city for the debt to be issued in the future.
Right.
But it reserves those rights in the city to vote on that at the time, right?
Sure.
So the city could say, okay, we're not gonna issue debt when it comes time, but maybe we need to.
That's the question.
And then where?
One clarification is, the Vapco Waterline project was voted on by us,
Yeah,
5 council members here, to be paid with TIF money. So we're borrowing money at that time to put in our TIF fund. So all we're doing tonight with this resolution is utilizing the money we have in our TIF fund to pay for the water main project until the community center project moves forward, and then we can borrow the money against the water main project for the community center. Nobody ever said anything about not guaranteeing the $500,000 for the community center. Not once was that said at the last council meeting or any time in between.
There was a time when this council was commenting that we should issue debt for the community center, then we would need a vote, and we would know whether the community really wanted it.
Not this council.
Yes.
No, it was not this council. That was before I was elected
You
on this
believe
council.
that it's a Lakeview.
No, it was not. It was before I was elected on this council. I was sitting right over there when that comment was made. That was when the signatures were all presented to the council at that time on the petition.
But the point is, there is no guarantee.
Yes.
No, but
No
this council will do that.
There's no guarantee that the community center is gonna be built either.
Well, it
Because the
certainly
funds haven't
doesn't
been
help when you
raised yet.
start doing things like this.
It does,
You know
just a
it.
minute.
It's not just a minute, Dale.
Okay, I'm gonna explain a couple things.
I understand.
We have
I
the
get it.
money in the bank to utilize
No, you
for-
don't, because it's earmarked for our project.
It's TIF money.
That was earmarked for our project.
That's
So
right,
it's
that's right.
still TIF money,
I get that.
which we have other TIF projects that
But the
we've been
time,
using it for.
you proved to me, that the timeline works for that. That in 6 months, you're gonna have $400,000 in TIF money. And if that's the case, use that for your water main project.
Right.
Why would you sign on for a project, this water main, and think that TIF money is gonna be the saving grace financially when you already know that's earmarked? Unless you had a pot of $800,000 where you could split it, keep your promise, and do this, why would you agree to that?
So explain it, Scott, that we're borrowing money,
We
put
get
into our
that.
TIF fund.
We get that.
We're not
Apparently you don't.
understand.
No, we do.
I don't think so.
You know,
What you don't understand is
I
you
have to
already
say,
made a
in the first
promise.
place, that TIP money was earmarked for the community center on one condition. The condition was that we raised $200,000 in other funding. We met that goal a long time ago. At that point, when we met that goal, then that money should be earmarked and locked for that. You can't just keep changing the rules all the way down the line. And Dale, you and Mike both talked about having a vote after you were sitting members on the council.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we all remember.
yes, you do.
My concern is, how are you jeopardizing the grant funds that have already been awarded to this community?
If your grant funds are awarded on the fact that you wanna invest in this community center.
We have not said we're not keeping the TIF funds available for the community center, not
Okay, it
once.
doesn't
You
look like
can,
it.
if you spend.
Yes, we can.
No, you can't.
We're crying out loud. We're not that stupid, Dale.
I wish you two would have gone to education with the Iowa League of Cities to understand.
Shirley
grants and
Phillips, I
stuff.
wish you would have gone to the education as well, because you stood up back there and made the comment that if we do not use grant money, we'll never, ever, ever get a grant again.
If you
And that's
don't use-
that's misinformation,
No, it's
and I can
not.
prove it to you in an email from the grant people that gift the grants.
Do you
If
have that
don't
from
use
every
the
single
grant money,
maker?
I have
Every
it from
single
your
one?
grant,
if you
All of,
don't,
all,
your grant,
all of the grants that we've got, every single one?
I have it for your grant.
Well, that's.
if
Yeah,
you
this
don't
is
use the
Congress.
grant funds for which
We
they
gotta do
were
one at a time,
awarded.
otherwise nobody's gonna hear anything.
Let's not forget about the donuts.
Please.
Our comments, Dale, beside what we were just talking about there, come back to the question, do we trust this council in the future to issue debt for a community center, mess this whole system up when we're seeing what's going on in the last while, and we're seeing, I don't trust it.
I don't either.
I don't, like Dale says, there hasn't been a word said that we wasn't gonna honor.
But you will.
But you,
We know.
would you make a commitment?
But
No.
If we don't under the table.
Can you just do a not vote?
But you won't have the funds.
Yep. It's just not
This-
rocket
this-
science.
Correct, it's not.
Yeah, I wish you would understand.
Shirley, go ahead.
What you need to understand about the grant funds is each grant is different, and whatever that grant says is what those funds have to be used for. I don't care what your email says. There's more than one grant here. And they have worked very hard at it.
Your statement was. if
No, it
we
was
do-
not.
Yes, it was.
Don't put
You were
words in my
standing
mouth,
right
I've worked with grants longer than you have, buddy.
Hey.
I worked with a grant for you to start your business, do you remember that?
I do. What grant was that?
That was the USDA grant, revolving loan from Region 12.
So,
You don't
you
remember
stood
that?
back there.
And I said,
If you don't
whatever
use-
you get for a grant, you have to use that money for what that grant says.
And if you don't use the grant, you'll never, ever, ever get a grant again.
If you don't, what are you talking about, the endowment grant? That's local. I was talking about the state grants.
I'm talking about the,
Dale, this doesn't
Destination
have anything
Iowa.
to do with what we're talking about right now.
no, and so, let's be clear. You don't trust us. When I say us, Mike and I, and I'm gonna put Mike in the same role. And we don't trust some of the numbers we're getting from the community center project either.
We're way back to that.
But that is not going back to it. This has never been said on this resolution that we would not do it for the community center. The funds are there. We are not decommitting funds for the community center by doing this.
It's a backdoor way in. We're not stupid.
So then do we need to
Think
change the
what you're
resolution saying that when the community center is built, we still guarantee the funds are there, and we're gonna borrow against the water main project? Because I think that's in this,
Yes, yes.
Go right
in
ahead.
this resolution.
Perfect,
Yes.
It says right here.
Without a vote.
without a vote.
So is there a problem borrowing funds against something that you've already purchased funds for? So, for instance, if you took money from the TIF and now the community center is ready, so now you're gonna issue debt from the water system that you've already funded. How does that work? The water's getting awful muddy.
That is the specific purpose for the consideration of the resolution tonight, Vicki. Just that assures that this can happen in the future.
Without a vote.
Can we change that to say, it'll happen without a vote?
Yes.
I wouldn't, I would not make that change without running it through our attorney.
I mean, that'll guarantee
Yeah.
and make everybody happy, I think.
I think we need some kind of a guarantee because going back to this grant application, when we applied for these grants, we have to show where all of our funding is gonna come from. What we've got in private donations, what the city's gonna commit, you know, all that's been put in these applications. And now by doing this, it seems to me that it's making it a little bit shady and a little bit shaky and I just think we're complicating something we don't need to complicate.
What can we add to the resolution that would?
Quite frankly, when when Mike and Dale's attitude is they wanna stop that project, it does make everyone nervous. We've worked really hard. We have a lot of money raised. There's no way it can't make us nervous.
Is there some way we could,
reword the resolution?
I would have to do some checking. To know.
I guess I'll throw my 2 cents in. I was back, I don't know how long it's been, but I was on the council, and I encouraged us to buy the land and so what that was, so when you went out to talk to people for donations, that you could actually say, this is ours, this is where we're gonna go, this is where we're gonna build. What I'm worried about now is that I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I'm gonna say, Whitey Steinkamp, we go see Whitey Steinkamp, and I'll say, what about the money? Are we still committed to the money? And there's a gray area, and if you guys know me, I don't like gray areas, because it can lead into 2 different paths. So my feeling about this is that we just vote no and go from there. I'll make that a motion if that needs to be.
And I'll second it.
ready?
So the motion is then to disapprove the resolution?
About swapping funds, yes, that's.
Roll call.
I guess I gotta make sure that this is right. You're voting to disapprove the resolution, Whitey, which the resolution then is just giving us the assurance we issue debt in the future.
It's not saying that you're taking the money from the TIF right now?
No, the resolution doesn't say that. No, that'd be a council policy action.
But that's
But
the
that's the
plan.
purpose, is that not the purpose of the resolution?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
No, the resolution doesn't say anything about the existing TIF dollars. It just doesn't. It says we can issue debt for a water main.
But does
project.
it make it so you can?
It allows us to take future action. It doesn't commit the city to take future action. You're right about that.
But does it allow the city to use the existing TIF money for the water main project?
No, that'd be a policy decision of the city council
And would it be in front of everyone? At city council
at an
meeting?
open meeting, certainly.
Okay, don't look
There's a way for Councilman Steinkamp's idea to be put in different terms that,
I just want to know what the motion is, Wayne. Right now, the motion
So why
is
don't
to disapprove the resolution.
But we need to do this resolution to finance the water main project.
That's all we're, but
And that's what this resolution
to
is
save
for.
interest.
Either that or you,
Well, you're
if
saving
you
interest
would
rates in the
disapprove
TIF funds, I think.
this resolution, you still have to have some way to finance that $400,000 for the water main project.
And
Okay,
that
so
is not
I have
being
a-
done
I'm
by
sorry.
using TIF funds in this resolution.
So my question is, we never had to pass a resolution every time we issued debt before for projects.
Sure,
Why do we have to, do this to?
Sure you would, you absolutely have to issue a resolution to issue debt. That very much, this is unique just in the fact that we're not issuing debt ahead of the project, we'd be issuing debt after the project.
You know, we've always had trouble taking water to Evapco for their fire needs. Okay, I mean, you remember how many times we went through this. And your water main project has to be a benefit to keep that company growing here.
Certainly, and of course it's happening, so.
Yes.
I mean, and it's happening, the city council, though, of course, we gotta finance it somehow.
if the city is willing
So,
to issue debt.
this resolution okays the financing, whether it be before, this case, after the project, for that project. That if the council took action on the community center part with the TIF funds, that's a whole separate action, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it could be.
So you're
But
not,
does it have to
you're
be?
not indicating that you're using TIF funds for this resolution to go through. I mean, it has nothing to do with TIF funds, is what you're saying.
That's how you word your
It
motion.
doesn't, right, it does not have anything to do with TIF funds right now. fact of the matter is, we are gonna get some bills in here before too long, and we need funds for cash flow purposes. I mean, this is gonna happen.
Why can't we issue
So,
debt for this water
I
project
still
now?
don't, I still do not understand why we needed a resolution now when we never did before. You're saying that before we issued it when we issued the debt, I understand that. Aren't you gonna have to do that anyway?
Whenever the debt would be issued, yes, that's true.
Right, so what is the purpose of this resolution? It makes no sense.
Sure, it does, it buys time. You know, that's ultimately what it's doing, is just buying time.
Buys time in what manner?
Pay for the.
That it buys time that you wouldn't issue the debt until the, the project is completed, or the community center is going to go. You know, the concept there is that it saves some interest. But it really does, this resolution, all it's doing is buying time.
And you're saving the interest.
That's a lot of smoke and mirrors, Scott, that is, you're not saying how you're gonna issue the debt, you're just gonna do a resolution that the council can kinda do what they want to issue the debt, so therefore what it means is they can take the TIF, and yeah, it'll have to be voted at
No,
another
the
council.
TIF, the TIF would be a whole separate thing. Separate the two, Vicki.
Then why do you need this? I don't understand.
Well, we got a motion and a second on it, and we'll have to decide if we're gonna, the motion is to do what?
No, he hasn't.
So as of now, is to not pass, is to disapprove resolution 2312. And that would be, it just doesn't take any action on the debt issuance then. I mean, it still leaves the issue out
So
there
we
to be
need
addressed.
to do another resolution next meeting saying we're gonna issue the debt now, if we don't pass this one.
We do need to come up with money to pay for the project.
So we'll need some type of resolution.
Well, again, if you have to come up with the money to pay for the project, you were gonna use the TIF funds that were set aside for the community center to do that.
Okay,
That was
true.
the idea,
Right?
that we don't have to do that.
Okay.
Because the
So
normal,
that's where there's a
resolution
confusion in here,
would say
because
how you're gonna
saying you're
finance
gonna
the debt.
take those TIF funds away from the community center to go to this. And I agree, you can't do that. You promised that money, if the money was raised to the community center, and the city needs to stick by that. That's all I'm saying.
Just like at the last, and I apologize, you weren't at the last meeting, you were ill or.
Yes, I was sick, you're right.
At the last meeting, all we're trying to do is save interest by not borrowing money today to put into the TIF fund, to take back out of the TIF fund to pay for the water main project. Because the water main is paid by TIF funds. So instead of borrowing the $400,000, like Scott is saying, and put it into the TIF funds, and then taking it back out to pay for the water main project, we're gonna use the money that's in the TIF funds, and then when we need it for the community center, we will borrow it against the water main project and put it back into
And
the
you're
TIF
gonna
fund.
guarantee that?
But that's not guaranteed.
I
And then you're gonna pull
we all know how you feel about the.
Just a
Okay,
minute.
the motion made and seconded, there's no more discussion from
You have
the
to call for the
public.
question.
What?
Say call for the question.
So, call for the question.
All right. Roll call vote.
Still, I'm unsure about the actual motion.
Okay.
Motion does not fund it.
The motion that I have is just not approve the resolution.
Strike the
It
resolution.
doesn't take any action, but other
Then
than,
we can do a new motion next meeting, because we'll still have time.
yeah, still got
What you
time. Sure do.
Roll call.
Understanding that the motion is to disapprove, resolution 2312.
To disapprove?
Yeah? All right, thank you.
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank,
Nope.
Beckman,
No.
Goldman.
Yes. Now,
Now,
now you could,
say we do need to have some discussion on next steps.
so next step would be to,
Talk to Walt, talk to Janet, get it in the writing of the resolution, so that when the funds need to become available, that they're available when we borrow against water. Just like we talked.
So now spend more lawyer fees?
Absolutely, we're not doing this without an attorney. You know, we just won't issue debt without.
Pretty simple.
But,
It's not simple.
so we
we need to pass a resolution to pay for the water main project.
Yeah.
Right.
Borrow the money for that,
Borrow.
not the
Right.
community center.
So that's,
That's what the resolution is.
so I guess that's my,
That's
My-
exactly
that's
what
my-
this resolution said.
that's my question of the city council then. If we have documents prepared that say we're going to issue, up to $400,000 worth of debt, and it would be, it'd be issued immediately. It'd be issued immediately and available for the project. I mean, that's what we're looking at then as the other alternative.
It's gonna be issued from where?
Bank
Where's the
fin-
debt being from?
bank financing.
Can you do that resolution tonight?
No.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk to Janet and get that worded.
Yeah, and also this comes from our bond council, so, no, it won't be dealing with Dave Jennett, it's with our attorney down in Des Moines. But I can talk with them and just so that people understand that,
It's right there.
that the next resolution that would come would be some resolution about establishing, debt for the water main, which would occur right now.
Okay,
Congratulations.
And it would specifically say where the money's coming from.
TIF funds.
No, Vicki, it would just say it'll be funded by TIF, but it'll be general obligation debt.
Alright,
okay,
Funded by TIF funds from the new Evapco expansion.
From the urban renewal area, everything, all the pot together.
Not the old.
what that, I have a question. What that means then, Scott, the way I take it is, you're gonna have this resolution that you're gonna issue the debt, it's by a general obligation, and you're going to repay that debt as TIF funds as they come in, not the TIF fund that has been set aside for the community center. Do I understand that correctly?
That's true, we need to determine what the debt schedule is gonna be when you're repaying the debt.
So will that read new TIF funds then?
No, it'll say TIF dollars. Because there is no such thing as new TIF dollars, it's just a dollar.
Okay.
Right, but the 400,000, and actually I think it's 500,000 is what, in the beginning, but
Yeah, some
Less
of
than-
it's been
less
spent, Vicki,
than-
but yeah.
less than engineering fees we've spent, that money would not be used to make payments. That money would still be sitting there earmarked for this community center because the Hometown Pride Committee has met their obligation that was tied to those funds.
That certainly ends up being a policy decision of the council, Vicki, but yeah. That would be the decision for the council to make.
we're gonna move on to resolution, we're gonna move on, Vicki, to 2313. Hiring the
Okay.
building grounds foreman.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Jerry, you got to experience, part of the city council meeting here, but, hold on one second for me, because I need to unmute you.
Okay.
Aha, there you go. Good. So we had a selection committee meet about the recruitment and selection then of a buildings and grounds foreman / public works employee. So again, this position, full-time position year-round, just in rough terms, 8 months being dedicated to the parks, and then 4 months, or during the cold months, then the person becomes a employee of the Public Works Department. Okay, so our selection committee was Mayor Westergaard and then Councilors Frank and Steinkamp, and either one of you wanna discuss that a little bit, Mike, or Kent?
Go ahead, Mike.
So where we ended up?
Well, we interviewed, ended up with 4 people and ended up with this selection and decided on an hourly wage. I don't know if you've conversed that with him.
Yes, so, yeah, so here, I did ask Jerry Conan to attend the meeting tonight via Zoom. Jerry lives in central Iowa, but has agreed that if he would be hired by the council tonight, that Jerry would accept the position. And hourly wage on that would be $21.10. Okay, so that hourly wage is the same hourly wage then that we hired our last public works employee, Lester, at that same rate. So it'd be $21.10. You got your little introduction there, Jerry, about yourself. Tell people about who Jerry Conan is.
Okay, Jerry Conan, obviously. My wife and I grew up back there. I'm originally from Bodie Bolt. My wife's from Wall Lake. We lived in Des Moines for around the last 30 years, and we've been talking about moving back for the last few years, and jobs came available, so we put in an application, and here we are. So we're just really looking forward to getting back to the community and just being part of the team.
Very good. And I do want everybody to know that so Jerry is Kay Cates' brother-in-law. Okay, married to Kay's sister.
So, when will you be able to start?
Yep, so we talked about a couple weeks, and if, assuming the council would follow through and hire him tonight, then, Jerry, had you looked at the calendar about what your notice to your current employer would be?
Yeah, I would take my last day of employment with where I'm at would be March 31st.
Okay, very good. And we'd have you start on Monday, April 3rd?
We could definitely shoot for that.
You have a choice of residence, or you have something lined up?
Yes, if we don't find any place to rent before we get back there, we can stay with our in-laws for a couple weeks till we find a place to rent.
Okay,
I think he'll do well for the city.
I do too.
Do we have to call you Cricket or Jerry?
Whatever you prefer.
Just call me, right?
Yeah, right.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 2313? Second, roll call.
Okay, Waltman.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Welcome, Jerry.
All
Welcome,
right,
Jerry.
you are officially hired there, Jerry.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks for your time.
I'll be in touch with you right away tomorrow, and we'll discuss some kind of next steps on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sounds great. Thank you. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting too, if you'd like.
It'll be a lot easier.
Or you just hit the end button and then you don't have to.
The excitement should be over now.
Yeah.
Okay, 2314, seasonal employees. Nancy, you want to tell us, we got extra people lined up, but we're pretty sure some of them will weed out like they always do.
Yeah, that's what I would, because I think last year there were 5 kids for concession that had been hired, and we ended up with 2. Same way with, I think there were 6 for the campground attendants, and that is counting Ruth too, and we ended up with losing several there too. So, some of the kids are out for softball and baseball, and I don't wanna not hire them because they're out for sports, so we're gonna work around their schedules, so. I just think it's important to at least start out with enough in case they,
Because we're a very busy campground in the summer now.
yes.
Always.
So when we look at these, if we didn't know any of the candidates, every candidate got interviewed by Nancy and the mayor and I, and then Dean for maintenance people. So everybody did get hired. So just a couple of notes that there are several, and you could probably say half of the applicants in campground attendant and mini golf concessions are young folks, and they'd be 14 and 15 years old. So, the campground attendants tend to be a year or two older than what the mini golf concessions helpers would be. But again, so we would recommend that we would hire all of these employees. That does not mean that there's more total hours staffed down at the campground. The staffing plan remains the same. By having a lot of employees, it just helps with flexibility on that. So,
Just a clarification, so on page 15, these are all the applicants.
those are the applicants.
And on page 16 are the ones that you are bringing on, so not all the applicants are coming on, correct?
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
We've never had so many applicants in my entire life.
Well, it looks like we had some great applicants.
And the extra wage helped.
Yeah.
Extra wage helps, that's very true.
We had 34 to start with.
There's a couple names that weren't selected. Is there just because of scheduling and stuff, or
Yeah,
just
so
the overall interview?
Yeah, I say we interviewed virtually everybody. There was a
Yeah.
couple who didn't, who wouldn't get an interview. But, and it's just against, decision of the committee, and largely decision of the manager about people that you would have to work with.
I just noticed mini golf, there's only one that wasn't selected, and she was a local, and I just, out of the 8 or 9 of them that are on there, that,
Caitlin was the one I wasn't in on, right?
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
It was hard to
She
pick.
couldn't make it.
well, and I understand that with so many, but
And a lot of these kids, it's the first time they've ever interviewed instead of people they don't know, so you have to look over that, and
well,
it was hard, I thought. I didn't, any of them were bad.
60 years old and I couldn't do an interview very well.
I don't wanna use it.
But it was hard to pick, Some just happened to stick out a little different than others. We tried to let Nancy pick them.
And so before we make a motion to vote on this, I'd just like to know, I do not know our assistant campground manager by name or anything. Can you give me a little background?
Sure. So that is Milt Meyer's granddaughter, okay? So that is Deb's daughter.
Okay.
She is a graduate school student, and I'm gonna say speech pathology or something like that, okay? And then she has one of her clinicals starts the last half of summer down in Carroll. So she's coming to live at the cabin then for the summer.
That helps.
Be a great candidate.
And the only reason I ask is people will ask, well, who's the assistant manager?
Right.
Who's the manager? So I want to be able to know.
Yep, she interviewed really well.
Good. Well,
Went very mature.
good.
The other thing to point out to the council for sure, we had budget and would propose that we would still hire 2 utility floaters. And we are short on applicants on utility floaters. We're working with, what was it, EMAC? On the alignment program yet about internships for alignment, where there was some hope there. Other than that, we can keep trying to get some additional candidates. We would propose to hire Chase Brockman. I do want the city council to know that the minimum age for a utility floater in order to be able to operate certain types of equipment, skid loaders and all of this other stuff is 18. Chase is 17. So if we hire Chase, it falls on the management there to make sure that he's only doing legal activity. But at the same token, Chase is a fine young man, will be a good employee.
You might have a chance to use the jetter.
Is that clean out storm sewers?
Yes.
Is that Craig Myers'
Grandson,
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Perfect.
But we just need another guy, because it takes 6 weeks, I think, to do the jetting. It hasn't gotten done, it needs to get done, so at least he could be the spotter.
And then, is there a reason why, on the parks employee, that I know why the one guy is getting paid more, but why the other 2 are split? Because they're both new this year, correct?
Yes, so
shouldn't they both be paid the same?
well, Mark's returning, like you say.
Right.
Okay, Gary would be the longer term guy, the 7.5-month parks worker.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then Steve would be the summer Memorial Day to Labor Day kind of parks worker.
Okay, so it's just the time frame.
Yeah.
Is it Gary Schrader, the one lives out on Provost?
Provost, yeah.
I didn't know if there's another Gary Schrader, but.
Perfect.
We'd get Gary hired, but he is down south right now, and won't be back, it's till a little bit after 1st of May, I think is what he said, and so it'll be a little bit before he starts.
That's the only question I had, just trying to figure out the difference. Perfect. We need a motion to move
Yes,
forward?
yes.
I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Beckman?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Moller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Waltman?
Okay, resolution 2215, we found a custodian.
Yeah, this would have us hire Tammy Westman as part-time custodian here at City Hall. We do hire her as a city employee, and pays $20 an hour. I want to
I'll
put
make
that in
that
the
motion.
resolution.
I'll second.
Roll call.
I get one question quick, is why are we defining that hiring as a city employee? Was our last custodian not?
The last one was, in the past, we've also had contract cleaners.
Okay.
So I do just want to clarify that this is an employee. Okay, we don't require additional insurances out of her.
I was gonna say, the contract cleaner, you had to make sure they had their own insurance.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted the clarification.
Okay, we ready for a vote here?
Roll call.
Waltman?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Moller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna do the overhead electric project. Jeff, being you had to sit through it all.
Learned a lot too, didn't you?
Yeah, I should come a lot later. We had 3 bids, and the bids are all in here, you guys I'm sure looked them over, but it's, the low bid is Legacy Power, who has done our rebuild stuff, last 2, whatever, storm damage type stuff with FEMA and stuff, and they're the only ones that came and looked at the project and actually walked through the project with me. And I wonder if that's why their bid is so much lower than the other guys, just trying to, I don't know, they're not getting their foot in the door the way they bid.
I was gonna
Let's
say,
just
that's 4 times higher than,
Just throw it, see if it sticks.
The good part about Legacy is they keep a crew over around Fort Dodge. They work for Prairie Energy, and they're contracted with them for like 3 years. So they're close enough where they can, if we have a big issue, they'll come over also after doing this stuff if we ever need them. And that's how Jim Coranda, who is the owner of it, that's how he's always kind of treated us in the past also. So I'm pretty happy to see the bid that they put us.
Yeah. And that bid includes that extra thing too, correct? Did I see that somewhere?
About 4 taps for rural.
Yeah, yes, that was the total project. Yeah, we did the whole total thing.
We
that we
budgeted
talked
like
about.
4,000 less than this.
We budgeted 35,000 for the provost line, and then we added those extra taps and whatnot, then this is at 43,000. And actually feel real good about the bid, pretty happy with it.
8, 9, 10, 11. So we come in under what our budget was for the provost.
Well, we were at 35,000 for provost. So,
Yeah, but that was just the provost.
yeah,
What did provost come in at?
we didn't
We didn't separate out, yeah, we did it as a whole project.
It's separated by the type of pole.
They do it a unit.
So we can say we weren't 30% over, can't we?
No, well, no, we weren't 30% on this.
By no way. Well, it depends.
That number just kind of sticks in your mind, though.
They'll only if you're looking at the top bid.
Right, yeah. So,
I'll
we
make
need
a motion to accept the bid of Legacy Powerline to do our overheads.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Frank?
Yes.
Moller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Waltman?
Yep.
Beckman?
Yes.
Okay, we need an affidavit operator.
Do we need an affidavit operator?
Yep.
You did not pass?
Didn't want that.
We're scheduled to do it again when?
Kate can send the money in, and then, I can, it's hard to get up there, but I might be able to go to other places in the state. There's 6 places where I could go take the test sooner than later.
Keep trying.
So, yeah, just with that, so it would keep plugging away to try to get this attended to just as quickly as possible. So, again, it is, the time delay here will be scheduling the test taking time. So we'll go ahead and cut the check and pay the $30 for the retest and do that tomorrow. But then it does become just when we can get that done. And just talking with Dean about, you know, so what is it that we can do to help? And
I can go to Storm Lake has the facilities that are causing me a problem in the test, to learn exactly how to treat sewer water there. At this test, there was no mention about lagoons. It was all on the old treatment plant would have been better. And then there's other questions about some other treatment. Spencer has one. If I can go up and see those two and ask more questions, like the questions that were on the test, might help me out on this test. Wastewater is the hardest test. Distribution's the easiest. Then it goes to water treatment. Wastewater is the toughest.
Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of knowledge to teach all those that are gonna be coming up to take the test.
And we're working on somebody else too, correct?
so even tomorrow, Les is going to a 30-hour class.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. He'll
Okay. So yeah, he's starting off then on his, those
Water
will be his
treatment.
grade ones.
And then what about,
And then Matt's able to sit for the exams then too, he has enough credit.
He wants to take a 30-hour class in distribution.
Those tests sound like EMS tests. It's really hard to pass in the first or second one.
so
like
we need
going
a
to a
motion,
driver's
we need a
license
motion to move forward with this.
Yeah, so I do want to explain that affidavit operator to you then, because we do need to have we need to have affidavit operators for water distribution, and then we need to have an affidavit operator right away on the wastewater side of things. Okay, so really two options. Wall Lake, Rick Hoppy has entered into this agreement with us about having Rick take care of the water distribution affidavit for us, and he's willing to do that. We're basically hiring him as an individual to do that, and it'd be $100 per month for that to occur. Okay, and then on the wastewater side of things, that Jason Butler, this JBE LLC, is, and he's able to do the wastewater side of things, and it'd be $500 a month for him to do the wastewater side of things.
I thought he was gonna do the wastewater for 400 and the water for 200.
That's how it started out like then, but yeah, when I asked him about just doing the wastewater side of things, it was $500. Because he was gonna come down here and do both at the same time. So, really, it's, the decision would be hire JBE to do both of them, and the fee would be $600, or have Wall Lake at $100 and JBE at $500. Which I should like the idea of working with Wall Lake.
Right.
So I'll make a motion, we go with those two options.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Okay, Holtman,
Yes.
Mulner,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Anybody got anything else you wanna bring up? Motion to adjourn,
I'll make that motion.
second,
Second.
meeting adjourned, thank you.
Ouch.
God.
All right, thanks a lot.